percussionist Sheila E. Thank you for seeing us, Sheila. We're
You're
just so honoured.
Thank you.
Your career history and achievements and awards and past collaborations are so fully documented. So what we'd like to focus on this evening and your time is to discuss the album, your charity. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about when you're playing the drums as well as a female. And then we've got a little word association thing that we're going to do. Okay, so can you tell us why and how did you come up with the title Icon for the album?
I didn't actually. The fans did. They picked that.
Ah.
Yeah, I wanted to call it Who I Am Now, which is one of the songs on the record.
Yes.
But we had a think tank session / the fans say either it's going to be Legend, Icon, or Queen of Percussion. And so they won by Icon.
Icon. Fantastic. And from listening to the album, the two tracks that were our main favourites were Girl Like Me and Old School. What message or journey were you trying to convey to your fans and to your listeners?
Girl Like Me is about abuse, so I talked about that in that song specifically to open the door for other women, and that's why it's called Girl Like Me. Yeah, to say, hey, you know, if there's something wrong, we got to talk about it and discuss it. So I mean, that's basically why I did it.
Yeah.
And that's why I got Legacy. I called her to be a special guest on the song because I asked her to listen to it, and she said I can relate as well.
Yeah, so it's such a so many.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the people keep it quiet as well.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it. So.
Yeah. So that was why. And then Old School has to do with the way that I grew up was musically listening to my dad play every day and rehearse and practice and jam sessions in the house. We learned how to just, as soon as we go out on stage, we have one chance, one try. It's about playing live, So Old School talks about how we used to play and how we had to learn how to practice and study and read and write and everything else. So that's important to being able to go on stage and play live, And I talk about in the second verse, what's going to happen when auto-tune goes away,
Yeah.
So it's not that it's a bad thing. I love technology, but it's just about old school and tribute to, jazz and the people, I could have listed 50 people who have influenced me over my career, but I talked about, my dad, of course, the Southern Blues and Tito Puente.
Yeah.
Duke Ellington.
And then when you're playing and recording, you use your drum kits. What do you look for? Because I was reading that you sometimes found difficulty when you first started with the reach and getting the size because you're smaller than a lot of many handspan and stuff. So how have you worked around that? Do you have your own?
Well, a lot of the kits were too big for me. I tried to use smaller sizes as much as possible. So it starts with my kick drum, and I use a 20-inch kick drum. Most of the drummers use 22s. I even use an 18. So if I use a smaller kick drum, then the toms are lower, and it's easier for me to reach. So I pulled everything in. Hi-hat rod, I cut that shorter, and usually most drummers play with their double kick pedal on the inside, so my pedal's on the outside of the hi-hat. That makes a difference. So I sit there and play as opposed to doing this, which I did before, and it really hurt my
Right.
back.
Yeah, because I saw that when you do, you were saying that when you grew up and you were watching your dad, and he was doing one way and you were learning that way.
Yeah, a mirror image.
In the mirror image, and because I do massage, and I learned exactly the same way, and I just thought it was amazing that you learned to play the drums.
Exactly.
So does that mean that you can play from both?
Kind of, yeah. It was set up for a right-handed player when my dad played right-handed, but because I was looking at a mirror image, everything that is right hand would do, my left hand would do. When I sat behind the congas, I played left-handed, set up for right-handed.
We understand that you recorded several of the tracks in one take. That must have been a huge accomplishment. I remember you saying that you were so proud of yourself for just recording all of it.
And again, it's just growing up listening to my dad is a purpose of Old School, but every solo that I did on the record, starting with the conga solo at the beginning, all the solos were one take. I didn't punch in any of my solos.
Yeah! Yeah, huge accomplishment. And I'd like you to tell me about your charity, Elevate Hope.
Yeah, Elevate Hope. I started with my friend Lynn about, I think, 12 or 15 years ago. But it started based on a couple of reasons why we started it. My dad used to take us to facilities when we were younger growing up, and we grew up poor in a community, you know, that, again, we didn't know we were poor. That's all we knew. We thought we were rich, and we were.
Yeah.
But there were kids that had less than we did, so my father took us in the station wagon, put the drums in the car, and said, we're going to the foster care, we're going to play for the kids and get them involved. And so I grew up doing that most of my life. But then when I met my friend Lynn, we were talking about abuse, and she had also as well had been abused. And so during the concerts, I started selling my gear, my equipment from the stage. It's like, all right, who wants to buy a snare? You know, my snare was like $1,000. It doesn't matter. Can I get $50? All right, we're gonna give it to the school.
Yeah.
Whatever we needed to do. So it became a thing where I had to keep sending gear out because I was selling all my stuff, and then I didn't have anything to play. So we said, let's just do it, you know, for real. So what we do is we use music and arts as therapy to help the kids in foster care because they're kind of like the last ones to be recognized or get help. And we know that for us, music has been a healing tool for us. That was our way of, you know, expressing ourselves. Knowing that most of the kids that we deal with have been abused, that their main thing is communication, and there's no way for them a lot of times to communicate, or they don't know how to. And so their way of communicating is like, well, then let's see how you can express yourself in the arts. If it's music, if it's writing, if it's playing music, if it's videography, photography, you know, creatively molding, sculpturing. And we notice with all of that, that when you first deal with the kids, they don't want to talk, they're shut down. You'll see that the images of the things that they create start very dark, black, sad, you know, angry, all of those things. And later on when they start coming out and feeling better about themselves, and us bringing hope and encouragement to them and mentoring them, then you see the colors of a lot of the things that they're doing, even the writing, that they come out and it's just like, oh, now the colors are orange and bright, you know, and happy and blue and pastel colors, as opposed to being very like, I'm still angry. And you see that process within having the music and arts as their therapy. So we've seen a lot of great things being done.
And is it in one state, or do you have it?
No, yeah, right now it's only been in California.
We'd like you in the UK.
Well, I would love to come here.
Music and arts in the school.
I would love to.
Yeah, we would love that over here, because what we find, the same thing that with the music, the kids, it does bring the kids out. I mean, we have a few friends who have been brought up a certain way, and that, you know, they've lost out on the parenting, and music is a way forward. We've got one little boy who plays the keyboard, so, you know, well, I'm just so proud of what you've achieved.
Oh, thank you.
And we're going to do a little word association. I'm going to give you a word, and you tell me the first thing that pops into your head. So, guilty pleasures.
You said what?
Guilty pleasures.
Popcorn.
Social media.
Facebook.
Family.
My family. God.
Yeah.
And
Hip hop.
rappers.
Do you like it? Relaxation, if you get any.
One day.
And the last one, Bay Area.
My home.
Yay! And that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.